Welcome back. Quick update. The Senate hearings on the threats to the Homeland has been postponed indefinitely. Senator Rand Paul says Mayorkas and Wray are refusing to provide public testimony. Going to follow that story. Elsewhere, this morning, President-elect Trump still working to narrow down a Treasury secretary. As we learn, he's also eyeing a potential crypto czar for the first time, seeking an expert to focus on cryptocurrency policy. Is that a good idea? And by the way, Scott Bessent, we hear, is still in the mix. Here with what that could be and what a Treasury secretary would be like and what the delay might be is none other than Shark Tank investor and O'Leary Ventures chair, Kevin O'Leary. Kevin, what's the problem filling this seat? It seems to be really bedeviling the Trump team.
Treasury is a very big deal because they work in cohort with commerce, and we've got to get someone here that balances the economy and understands it's not all about large companies, because the Chips and Science Act, the Infrastructure Act, and all the government support during the pandemic did not go down to family businesses in America, which creates 62% of the jobs. So we got to get someone in there that understands that. My vote is Haggerty. He understands that. I also know him, so of course I'm going to be an advocate for him. But this is a crucial position. Big deal, a really big deal.
Right. Do you think Wall Street's going to embrace the Trump philosophy, the tariffs, and some of the things? When you pick up the phone, are they excited about this?
Yes, they are excited, specifically against China. Tariffs are balanced. We've already got to deal with Canada and Mexico and our European partners. We have equivalent tariffs. That's okay. It's China we're at economic war with. I'm a huge advocate for really turning up the heat there and getting them to the table so they're part of the rules that they agreed to play by in 1999 when they joined the WTO. These guys cheat, they steal, everybody knows it. It's time to really hold them accountable.
So the crypto czar that the president's presenting, no doubt about it, he went to Silicon Valley. He was impressed with what he heard and what he saw. And he's looking at a crypto czar, Brian Brooks, Brian Armstrong, two people whose names come up to help him pick somebody or pick themselves. Your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, Brian is the Coinbase. He's being sued by Gensler right now. His company's under litigation from the SEC. We got to stop these shenanigans because this is a technology that affects all 11 sectors of the economy. It provides efficiency and digital payment systems, and we have to be competitive worldwide. We need a czar here, and we need to start making decisions. Is it Ethereum a commodity, or is it a security? Pick one and go with it. I don't care which one it is, but we've got to at least pick it. We haven't done that yet.
40 seconds. Your thoughts about Doge writing an editorial in the Wall Street Journal today talking about their approach, and they're going to have a channel and inform America what they're cutting. Can they get $2 trillion out of this budget?
Yes, they can. And why wouldn't you want Doge? All it's saying is let's be transparent when we make economic decisions. Stop letting bureaucrats do it, because we send our representatives to Congress. I'll give you an example. We stopped shipping natural gas to Germany, and they're freezing in the dark. Why do we do that? Some bureaucrat decided that. Congress should decide. I love this idea. Transparency for the people. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. And I would love to see us just maximize oil and gas. Some other good news, the XL pipeline, as soon as President Trump takes over, they're going to get out their ratchet set and start putting it together again from Canada. Kevin O'Leary, thanks so much.
Take care.
All right. Always insightful. He'd be a good guy for Treasury Secretary. I don't know if the president thought about that already. That'll do it for us today. Make sure you catch me on the Brian Kilmeade Show that starts from 9 to noon amongst my guests, Mark Halpern. Now it's time to go to two very important people.
Any moment now, Daniel Penny set to arrive at New York State Supreme Court before his manslaughter trial resumes. The Marine vet claims he was acting in self-defense when he put Jordan Neely in a chokehold. Manhattan's liberal district attorney Alvin Bragg is facing scrutiny for prosecuting the, quote, Good Samaritan, while violent criminals are being released without bail. More on that coming up in just a moment. But first, the border crisis is blaring across the country. The Laken Riley murder verdict and recent ICE arrests of illegal immigrants accused of heinous crimes spotlighting the real-life consequences of the Biden-Harris policies. Good morning. I'm John Roberts. This is unexpected.
It is. It's good to be with you, John.
Good to meet with you as well.
Bonus morning. I'm Jillian Turner. Bill and Dana are both on assignment today. This is America's Newsroom. The Biden-Harris open-door policy at the border allowed violent criminals into communities across the country. Right now, Jose Ibarra is Exhibit A of that danger. The illegal immigrant facing justice for a brutal murder. He was found guilty yesterday in the killing of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. Her family now delivering heartbreaking testimony before he was sentenced to life in prison. Listen.
This sick twisted and evil coward showed no regard for Laken or human life. We are asking the same be done to him.
Now I get to explain to people when they ask me if I have a sibling that I no longer have one.
I am haunted by the thought of the fear she must have felt in those final moments, and it breaks my heart knowing that she suffered.
Tackling the migrant crime wave will soon become a top priority for the Trump team. They see the unbearable grief of victims and their families and promise to bring an end to the disaster.
People ask me why I get so emotional when I do Fox News and why I scream at members of Congress. Because I've seen so much tragedy. I've talked to hundreds of angels and moms and dads who buried their children because they're killed by illegal alien. This is the latest. You know, I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by members of cartel. When you look in her eyes and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her soul, and her life will never be the same. I mean, it's just, I'm tired of it.
Meantime, ICE now announcing the arrests of 3 illegal migrants in Massachusetts. 2 of them are charged with raping children. 1 convicted of the same crime in Brazil. Mike Tobin is following the story for us. Mike, what can you tell us?
Well, Jillian, all 3 of the individuals we're talking about today came into contact with U.S. authorities but were released. And now we see with these cases in Massachusetts, they indeed were a threat to innocent people. The first case is a Guatemalan named Minor Steven de Paz Munoz, charged with the rape of a child by force, indecent assault, and battery against a minor. He was arrested November 12th in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. ICE says he entered the U.S. illegally September 24th of 2020 and was released with a notice to appear before a judge. He was arrested for the alleged rape of a child in February of 2024. The ICE detainer was ignored, so when de Paz Munoz made bail, he walked free. Now, a Brazilian man, Alexandre Romeo de Oliveira, was picked up in Methuen, Massachusetts, November 18th. He was convicted of raping a child in Brazil and sentenced to 14 years, so he fled to the U.S., entering illegally in New Mexico in 2022, and he was released with a notice to appear. Now, he was a fugitive until last Monday. A third case is a 42-year-old Colombian man charged with raping a child in Massachusetts. He'd been in the U.S. since 2016, but didn't leave when his visa ran out. In his case, the ICE detainer was honored, so he's now in custody. A former ICE supervisor says these are the kind of guys targeted for deportation with the new administration.
And that is what these mass deportations are going to be. They're going to be after criminals. Now, detainers are one of ICE's biggest things that we could use. And when you have these states that are going to be bucking back against Trump, they're not going to honor detainers. We need to have detainers to keep people who are removable or can be removed in custody.
And Massachusetts is the same state where Governor Maura Healey just promised not to cooperate with the incoming administration's federal efforts to enforce immigration laws. Jillian?
All right, Mike Tobin in Chicago for us this morning. Thank you.
Got it.
Now let's go ahead and bring in Oklahoma Republican Senator Tom Lankford. Sir, thanks for taking time with us this morning. Let's kick it off and talk about the problem of migrant crime and the border crisis still unfurling along the southern border. What are you making of the president's nominees so far and his proposed border policy?
So the border policy from the Biden administration is reaping the fruit that we all said it would reap. This is why I've continued to be able to ring the bell over and over again on the border and to be able to say this is not just folks that are coming into work. We literally, when they cross the border, we don't know if they're fleeing justice or if they're fleeing poverty. We have no idea. And right now, the Biden administration is not filtering those. They're just allowing everyone in. And it's been a great frustration, both for the American people that they spoke out loudly during the election on. They want this to stop and should stop immediately. So we're going to continue to be able to find every way we can to be able to target first criminal aliens, and there are thousands and thousands of them that are now in the country, folks that have a final order of removal from a court, and there's over 1 million of those folks that we know of that are in the country right now, and other folks that are national security risks. They need to be deported and need to be deported immediately.
Senator John Roberts here. So a question about that. We had information yesterday from DHS that 1.4 million people who are in this country illegally have deportation orders against them. 13,000 of them are in ICE custody. And a question a lot of people might have is, why are they still in the country? Why haven't they been removed?
That's been a question that I've asked over and over again of this administration. This administration has been unwilling to do it. They say they're setting priorities for criminal aliens, but quite frankly, avoiding a court order when a court order says to you, you have to leave, is also a criminal act as well. So they're picking and choosing who they want to be able to deport and who they don't. The best thing to be able to do is if a court has ordered them removed, they need to be removed and need to be removed immediately. And then if they commit any other criminal act other than immigration violations, they've got to be able to be removed immediately and start working through the pecking order of those that are the highest risk and start identifying those folks and removing them.
While we have you here, Senator, I want to make sure we take time to ask you about a bit of foreign policy as well. We're learning this morning that the International Criminal Court has again issued an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What's your take on that?
Yeah, frustrating again. This is another reason why the United States is not a party to the International Criminal Court. Neither is Israel, because this random court just tries to step in and take over sovereignty. They're literally saying as a court, the nation and the leader of a nation that was attacked by terrorism, that still is trying to get the hostages back from their nation, that person is the criminal. This is how backwards the world has become on that. And it's one of the many reasons we continue to be able to stand with our ally Israel, even though yesterday Bernie Sanders actually brought a resolution to try to strip away American weapon systems going to Israel. And he had 19 other folks that voted with him. No Republicans voted with him. We had 19 other folks that stepped in and said, yes, we want to be able to strip away weapons from Israel. We're not going to do that. We're actually going to stand with Israel. We want to see an end to this war. We want to see a return of those hostages. And no, we don't want a lawless international criminal court to be able to step in and try to convict Benjamin Netanyahu.
Senator, if I could come back just to finish here on the border. So here's the situation that we have, and we talk to Tom Homan about this all the time. You've got people who are in this country from countries that we do not have reciprocal agreements with. You've got all of these members of Tren de Aragua, whose statistics now show are operating in 16 states across the nation, metastasizing like a criminal cancer. You've got people who came into this country by the tens of thousands from China. You've got them who came in from India, Bangladesh, Uzbekistan, places like that. When it comes to deportations, how do you remove people to countries with which we don't have reciprocal agreements?
Yeah, that is actually a challenge that you have to have the full weight of government that actually engages with. So under the Trump administration, they were using the State Department to be able to put pressure on countries saying, we're going to cut off foreign aid, we're going to apply additional pressures to you, we're going to continue to be able to call you out, or we'll do tariffs on your nation if you don't take these criminal aliens back. Biden administration has been unwilling to do that. Quite frankly, today we were supposed to have a public hearing with Christopher Wray and with Ali Mayorkas coming before the committee that I sit on, Homeland Security. They both have dropped out within the past hour and said they are not coming.
Really?
That is one of the questions I'd already told them in advance I was going to ask them about, is what's called special interest aliens. That is the folks from all these different countries we know nothing about that are coming into our country. They have now both dropped out and said they're just not going to come at all. It is one of a million reasons we're ready for a transition of administration January the 20th.
And I understand, Senator, I mean, this is the second day in a row that this hearing has been postponed. Have they given a reason for the no-show?
They have not given a reason other than they did not want to testify in an open setting on these issues. Again, the American people need to know. We've got multiple threats that are out there. We need to know about special interest aliens. We've had the Chinese have done a significant hack into telecom systems in the United States. This is something that needs to come out to the American people, and they're refusing to be able to bring it to light.
You know, we had our Fox News voter analysis show that 75% of people who voted think that what's happening on the border is a very important issue, and yet you don't have these people even showing up to a Senate hearing. Senator Langford, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Good to see you again.
Well, President-elect Trump's administration is starting to take shape quite quickly, certainly faster than it did back in 2016 for his first term. He has named 2 new ambassadors in the last 24 hours. He's also assembling his cabinet behind closed doors at Mar-a-Lago. Another difference this time around from 2016, Alexis McAdams is in West Palm Beach covering all the details as they unfold. What can you tell us, Alexis?
Hey, Jillian. Well, whether it's happening behind closed doors or not at Mar-a-Lago, people are finding out about those pics pretty quickly at a high clip speed. And the former president said for months he was going to go back to Washington, D.C. and shake things up. And that's exactly what he's done with these cabinet pics. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding a few of them, so it might be an uphill battle on Capitol Hill to get them confirmed. But hey, Trump says this is what the radical left does. They try to dirty people up, they chew you up, and they spit you back out before they destroy you. So he's not worried about it. bit. But take a look here. You can see what's going on at Capitol Hill again this morning. Pete Hegseth is up there in Washington, D.C. Hegseth is Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense and is having meetings with Republican senators today. Those meetings come as the 44-year-old veteran faces questions about his confirmation after a past sexual assault allegation that he has denied. Senator Josh Hawley telling Fox News he's going to vote to pass all of Trump's picks.
I would just say to my Senate colleagues, listen, let these guys testify. Give them a shot. I know some of these Senate GOP folks are saying, oh, I've got concerns. That's what a hearing is for. Don't go out and bash these people until you've at least allowed them to make their case.
And Hegseth will get his shot, and we're told he's ready to go. Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary is continuing to widen, looking at 3 names now, according to reports. Okay, so that's Kevin Warsh. He's a former member of the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. Mark Rowan, he's the CEO of a huge private equity giant called Apollo Global Management. That would give him a voice in the major policies for private markets, which is important. And now Trump's also looking more seriously at Republican Senator from Tennessee, Bill Hagerty. Hagerty is a former private equity investor who was Trump's ambassador to Japan and is also a top contender. Also this week, John and Jillian, Trump tapping Matthew Whitaker to be the next ambassador to NATO. Trump says Whitaker will strengthen relationships with the NATO allies, but will put Americans first. And that pick comes as the war in Ukraine intensifies, as recently President Biden gave his permission for the use of long-range American missiles to be used there. Now, back out here live, this is an interesting thing that we're eyeing. The former president is looking for a crypto czar position, okay? Someone who is an expert in the field of cryptocurrency that would focus on crypto policy. This comes as we've seen the price of Bitcoin is going up through the roof because people are closely watching what Trump will do here. Jillian.
All right, Alexis McAdams in West Palm for us this morning. Thank you.
This is not our county, or it shouldn't be. So I ask you, please follow the law. Listen to the Supreme Court and do what they ask you.
A passionate plea from a Pennsylvania Republican leader amid calls from the left to count illegal votes. Democrat Bob Casey still refusing to concede the election. She joins us straight ahead. Also, this coming up.
We weren't in a recession, but people just felt bad. No, they were struggling. This is the party that deliberately embraced the wealthiest folks on the planet and shunned who have been their core voters.
Well, the middle class feeling the squeeze under the Biden-Harris administration. What earnings from reports from some of the biggest retailers are now revealing about everyday Americans.
Plus, a red wave may be getting even bigger. How the balance of power in the House is shifting again.